Right, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Reskinning live stream. For anyone watching in the chat, can you all hear me okay? If everyone can hear me alright, then I shall get started. So, tonight I'm going to be looking at reskinning some Victory Works locos by special request. So, there's two main ones I want to have a look at. One is the S160. And the other is the Great Western Pannier tanks. So we'll get some place down in game and try and decide on what liveries we're going to do. I have some ideas for the Pannier tanks, but if anyone watching in the chat has any ideas for what to do for the S160, give us a shout. In fact, you know what? I'll load up the last time I did a reskin. It were a while ago, listener. I won't leave a logo on that. I can't remember what the numbering fin is for it. Oh well. So, network rail. So, BR Green and Omaha Red are the suggestions I've got. BR Green I could manage, but not with any lining, I don't think. And Omaha Red is one that I've unfortunately tried before, and it's virtually impossible. The thing with Victory Works locos, as I'll show you when I get round to it, is that they have a completely different method of texturing compared to other people. So, which loco has a good base to start from? Scripting I'm not too worried about because I've got a neat trick to get around that. Okay, so we've got Alaskan one, which is all black. LMR Blue's probably going to be the best bet. Oh look, train sim dump failed. Let's get that booting up again. While that's booting up, let's go have a look at the folder setup and I'll show you why it's so difficult. S160. Let's have a think here. I'll go for that one, new folder. Scenario, test track. what did I call it? It's probably right at the bottom there, VDB. There we are. Edit, try that again. There we are, advantages of the new quick load patch showing there. So, I think the Longmore Military Railway is probably the best livery to use as a template. Certainly for anything that has lining. Victory Works. And USA TCS 160. So let's see if we can put it down without it dump filing this time. I think I can't remove the nameplate on this one. Well, I might have to have a look at that. So, in short, Victory Works have updated the texturing method since they did these locos, so there are ways to get around it. But the issue is that with a Victory Works loco, you can't change any of the lining because it's done as part of the model. So this means that the advantage of that is that you can get these absolutely beautiful curves there, which are more detailed than anything you can get just on the texturing. The disadvantage is it uses tile textures, so you can't change any of that lining pattern, so I can't change where that lining is or what it does. All I can do is change the colour. So with that in mind, I'm not entirely sure if I actually want to do the S160. I might have a go at doing the Saint. But I'll show you how the file setup works anyway. So if I go to S160 LMR, let's have a look at the perhaps I need to unpack that. And while it's doing that, I'll have a look at what other stuff I've got, the Pannier tanks I wanted to do. So let's have a look at extracting that as well. S160, rail vehicle, steam, S160. It's thinking about it. The 42 and the 72 I could do, although I'm not entirely sure what texturing method they have on them. But to tell you what I can bring up, because I had a go at doing this a while ago, I think I used the S1 LMR one. I had a go at doing a Australian style S160. Which I'll drag up here. But this should show quite clearly what I mean about only being able to change the colours and the lining and not being able to change the actual pattern of where anything goes. Try that again. wonder if I actually used the Alaskan one for that. Might have just Yeah, I think I might have done. Well, those lights shouldn't be showing on it though. Yeah, well, in any case, it shows how you can change all the colours, but you can't change what the actual lining shape is. So I'll have a go at demonstrating it with a lawnmower one. I'm not going to do a proper reskin, I'm just going to go over the default colours. But I'll just show how you go about changing that. It's really taking its time tonight. Although they are quite big packs. So, Pannier tank is what else I wanted to do. So I've got some requests for the 42 and I've got the same issue with that if I remember rightly. So if I go on Victory Works and the 42XX, SG Media, can you remind me what class Hercules is? Is Hercules a 42 or a 52? Also, yeah, I'll put a link in the description when the video is finished, but if not, if you just look for it, it's if you just Google Blast Pipe Productions, it should come up somewhere, and I think there's a link on the Facebook page. Let's have a look. That's a 72, so I don't want that one. $42.77. So let's have a look. 42. Let's go for Great Western. Wait for this to die again while it tries loading it in. Hey, the laptop is really not happy tonight. It's the ghost train. That's looking a bit better now at least. So, now it's loaded in, I can go through the issues with it. So, the problem is, it's unlined, and the preserved version is lined. So, on a normal reskin, it would be a fairly easy thing to fix. All you need to do, simply go into the files, look at the map, and change the boiler. I'll get rid of the S160 and I'll just go for the 4200s. Sorry Ed, but it's exactly the same thing you do for them. So if you can do it with one, you should be able to do it with the other. So 42XX, rail vehicles, Steam. What's the betting I haven't done this one either? Oh look, I've got a folder prepared for it already, how about that? I wonder if I actually bothered renaming it in there. Probably didn't. Oh no, I did. This is going back a few years now. Last time I tried making this, I think I had discussions with Victory Works about it, and basically, in order to make it accurately, you have to have a custom child object made that matches the exact shape of the loco. I'll leave that to load in, that's probably going to be a while. So, let's have a look at some textures and I can show you what I mean. So, on a Victory Works loco, all of the textures are what's known as tile textures, and you can tell that by the size of them. They're all pretty small, except for that one which is huge, but I believe that's the shadow map. So, we've got all these various things for black metal here, so if I open one of them up, you can see how it's pretty much what it says on the tin. It's just a square and it's black and metal looking. If we have a look at the brass, texture for the brass there, if we go back into train sim. Oh hey look, I did do some work on it. Apparently I didn't get very far with it. But it is subtly different. Oof, it's so old. I think I brought the scripting on it. Anyway. So yeah, if we see if we can find the colour that's the green for it. That's your copper. Firebox. Ah, here we are, green metal. So, as you can tell by this, it's well, again, it's what it says on the tin, really. It's just a greeny, metally colour. So, I'll open the other green metals as well, because they'll be part of the loco. Green metal 2 and green metal 3. So if I go DDS tool, export DDS data, and if I go into the reskins box, stick it in tutorial, and we will call it 4277, and this is green metal 1. So save that in there, we'll go find that now. Reskin tutorial 4277, green metal 1. And as you can see, it's just green. So I shall now select all of that, and I shall do a bit of texturing work on it, although there's not really much I can do with that. So I go back into reskins, bring up my fancy doodah, copy that base layer, paste that over the top. And you can see it is only a 512 by 512 texture, so it is pretty small. 512 by 511. Yeah, well. So I've got that down. I'll set that at about 50, maybe 75 actually, because it's a blank. 75 might be a bit much, so I'll drop that back down to 50. Right. So let's fill this background in green. Let's tweak that till it looks like a nice shade of green and not an awful shade of green. Let's go for 15. Add a bit more red into it, I think, for a Great Western green. Make it a bit darker. Yeah, let's have a go with that. Original, new, original, new, original, new. Yeah, it's close enough. So one thing you'll notice is that when I exported that DDS there, it didn't have any opacity set on it. And that's because the opacity for it is set by these AO files. So if I open, it's all cab. Let's see if there's one for might be a main one. Let's have a look at what the main one looks like. There we are. So if I open this main file, this is kind of what your stereotypical bake layer would look like on a normal texture. So as you can see there, you've got the coupling rods for the wheels there. See if I can find one that's got the tank sides on it. It's probably going to be the cab one. Cab metal. Oh, maybe not. That might be the inside of the cab. See what main semi is. Here we are. So we've got at the bottom there, we've got the bit for the boiler, and we've got the smoke box door up there, we've got the frames. So this is what you'd normally expect to see, something like this on a normal reskin, but with the Victory Works stuff, certainly the older stuff, instead of something like this, you've got something like this. So what happens is, if I Control and an S and save this, I'll then go back into here and I find the one I want. So I can then go back on there and go import and reskins tutorial 4277 green metal, just as you would do with any normal fin. Now I'll go file, save as 4277 green metal 1. Green metal 1. Do you want to replace? Yes, I do. And let's see what happens if I press play. Save changes. Yes. I believe that was the boiler file that I've just edited there. If you have a look, the boiler layer looks a little bit brighter than the tank sides. Now, it didn't actually look that much different from the original. I suppose it does look a bit darker. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it with the Victory Works Locos. But to do a bit of a more exaggerated one, I'll have a go with one of the other green ones and I'll swap it for a bright red instead. So if I go Ctrl Z and I fill this background layer in bright red, because it's a tile texture, I can just overwrite any file with this. So first I did green metal 1, let's have a look at what happens if I do green metal 2. Green metal 2, yes. So we'll go back into world editor, back into scenario editor. Hello Train Master and welcome to the stream. Let's go have a zoom up here. Ah look, the cab's now bright red. But as you can see, that's made all of that cab go bright red, even though all I changed was just this square. So that's pretty much all there is to go through with Victoryworks Locos. You can change the colour of patches like that, but it's like in this case I can only have the cab one colour. I can't change what any of that colour is. And it's the same thing like with lining. With a boiler there, I managed to change the colour of the green that's on top of the boiler, but I have no way of adding any lining to the boiler bands. So that's pretty much what there is to go through with Victoryworks Locos. But I'm now going to have a go at trying the Panniers, and I'm not entirely sure when they did it, which loco it was, but Victoryworks have looked at their texturing method and they have changed it a bit, and it has made it a lot easier to reskin it now. So GWR Pannier tanks, I'll get rid of them 42s just to save my computer a bit. Right, now I do actually have a proper reskin I want to try with these, which is going to be quite difficult. So I need to find one that's got a suitable base livery to reskin. That could be a helpful one. The weathering on there could give away where the texture file is for it. Although it looks like it might be symmetrical, which could be an issue. But we'll put it down and have a look at it anyway. So, what is it I want? I want a 5700, so I'll get rid of that one actually. See what the Great Western ones look like. Great Western 5700. That could maybe do. That C would have to go, and the decos on the cab side obviously have to go. That black on the tank fronts could be an issue though. So let's see if there's anything else there. That's pretty much the one I've just had. Still got the black on the tank fronts there, so it might not be any better. Yeah, still got the same thing, so I might just have to roll with it. Just double check and make sure the BR ones aren't any better for it. Ooh. Okay, so this is a good example of Victoryworks lining here. You can see how you get that really nice solid shape around there without any sort of pixeliness around it. Like same with up there, same with up there. Although it does have its disadvantages because you do have bits like at the cab layer where you've got that overlap. But yeah, for the reskin I'm wanting to do, I don't want to use a loco that's already got lining on it, because if I try and use one that's already lined out, it'll be very difficult to try and get it to work properly. Right, well it looks like I'm going Great Western then. Reese, you are quite correct. I am trying to have a go at doing the Railway Children Pannier. Now, it's one that I have made before. In fact, let's go see if I can dig up that fossil of a root. I think it's under RSC. It's not there. Maybe it's not under RSC. Let's have a look at DTG and see if that's any better. Aha. Give it a moment for it to load. What did I call it? It's probably under KWVR, so it'll be at the top. Here we are. Click that down. Flip that round. So, on the left is what I've got, and on the right is what I want to make. So, you can see sort of the lining that I've got on there. And that lining doesn't match up to anything that's on any other panniers, so I'm going to have to try and start that from scratch. So without further ado, let's go do some rummaging around in the folders. Victory Works. Pannier tanks. Steam. It's the Great Western one that I am doing. So I'll copy all of that because I'll probably need all of that. Let's go back into Steam, make a new folder, and we shall call it Railway Children. I didn't want to do that, I wanted to just paste it directly in there. There we go. GWR 5700. And now to try and make sense of the files we've got here. Now I don't think the area we have exactly matters here, but let's just double check and make sure we're using the right one. 29 to 34, so let's go back and make sure that we've got the 29 to 34 one. 1500 GWR 29 to 34, and we want to make sure we've got the fitted one, which we do. So that's the one we want, Era 1. Era 1 fitted. So all the Novak files can go because it's not any LM we want. All of these except for Era 1 can go because we don't want any LM either. All of these but Era 1 can go. All of those Novaks, so they can all go. And we've got a bit more of a tidier folder now. The logos thing I want to delete in the textures. So we shall have a go at editing that. So I shall copy that. Fine, Control V, call it. Find, replace all. Find, replace all, and what was it called? I think it was just 5700s, but I'll just double check. Yeah, 5700. File and save. So I'll get rid of that Great Western one. Press play, save changes, yes. We will now quit out of that. I have to reload it and go back into the editor to place that one down. Which reminds me, I did actually save it, didn't I? Because that'd be a pain if I didn't. Dot back, yeah, I did save it. So while that's doing that, we'll start having a look at these textures and see what we've got to work with. That sounds like it's loaded now. So, graphics tools, viewer, and I wanted Victoryworks, GWR, Pannier tanks, rail vehicles, steam, railway children, green textures. Don't need to do that, I just need to go on there and put it straight down. Hey, there we are. Numbers won't show up because I haven't copied the files over and changed all the names and all that off for them yet. But there we go, we've got us engine. So now to go about setting the textures on it. So we'll go back into here and back into here. So we've got a beautiful black metal square there. Which I might need at some point, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Yeah, that's the brakes, don't need to worry about that. Let's go back up from the bottom. White metal, can probably ignore that for now. That I can ignore. Power class I can ignore. That I can ignore. The logo I will need a change. I think it's that one I'll need. So file save as. Yeah, it's not that one I want. Reskins. tutorial for... No, I don't want to save it in there. I want to save a new folder for it, actually. Let's go back in BPB Live. Let's go for a new folder. Let's call it 5775. So we'll go have a look in here and we'll save this as tank logo.png. Lamps I'm not going to need to change. Let's see what we've got here. That I'm not going to need to change. That I won't. 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 That one I might actually. That looks to be some wheel looking things to me. File and save as under diffuse. Other diffuse, so that looks like it's got the safety valve bonnet textures on, the smoke box on it. Few other bits and bobs. Save as, and let's call that other. Engine main, let's hope it's a good one. Okie dokie, I couldn't work with that, but that's gonna be awkward. File, save as, main diffuse. Empty, decal, blah de blah. I think I've got enough to go off there for a while, so I can close that as well. So that can go. Tell you what, I'll dig up my old railway children livery if I can find it. I think that's the one. Can use this to get the colour from it. So let's go back into reskins, live, 5775, main diffuse.png. So, the issue here is that that's a lot of textures crammed on a not very big texture sheet. So, if I try doing any lining on here, let's just go for a let's go for a simple rounded rectangle just to demonstrate. This bit here is plainly the bunker, so let's just do it as an example. If I do that, you can see how that's horrifically pixelated. So, to get around this issue, I'm going to use a little cheat I learnt a while ago. And this is one of the cases where I'm going to use 8K textures, and people are going to shout at me and call me silly for using such ridiculously huge textures. But it's worth it to get the quality in. So if I go on image and resize by percentage, I think it's 400 I want. No. Yep. So I've now got an incredibly large texture file, but you saw what happened when I tried to do the lining on there before. Watch what happens if I try and do the same thing now. So you can see how that is a lot smaller now than it was before, which means if you're looking at it from far away, it looks a lot higher quality. So let's get rid of that. Let's get his base layer in, and let's get reskinning. That's there. And what I'm going to do, because I've stretched my texture layer so much it's a bit blurry, if I go on adjustments and effects and noise and add noise, turn that colour saturation down, turn that intensity down, and that just makes it a bit more pixely. But if I show you the difference there, it gives the illusion of there being more texture layer than there actually is. So when you put it in game, it breaks up all the colours a bit more. It just makes it look a little bit better. So I'll set this to set that to 50. No idea what I had it on before. .25, so I might need to change this colour a bit to compensate. Ba-doop. It was a bit pale last time. I'll try making it a bit darker. So that was at 44. Try dropping it to 34. That might be a bit too dark, but I can always change that later. Right, I probably need to have a look and see what it looks like, so let's just go for 577. Yeah, that'll be best thing for it. So I'm not going to go for the original film livery, as seen. Well, that's not quite the original one. That's closer to it. I'm going to go for the more recent repaint of it. So let's open that image. So it does have a black back to the cab, but the front of the tank is painted in ochre. So cab roof, I want to be black. Cab back, I want to be black. One of the nice things about this texture sheet that I've noticed at first look, although it looks rather jumbled, everything's quite nice and straight. So that makes it a lot easier to just select the sections you want to change rather than having to do the whole thing. So I'll fill all the bits in black and then I'll do all the deleting later. Tell you what else I'll do, since it's a fairly nice blank template to work from, I can keep the bake layer on this one a bit more. So I'll make that black and white. Well, that's not what I wanted, black and white. Stick that in black and white, and then we'll put that on about 50 as well, I guess. That means if I tick that again, that should keep some of the shadows on it a bit. So for everyone who says, oh no, he just deletes the bake layer, fuck you, I don't. So hide that again so I can see what's what. That looks to be a cab roof. And this is a bit where reskinning can be quite nice and therapeutic. So that's that bit done. Select that bit there. Those black rivets over there I'll come back to later. I'll use the paintbrush tool and I'll just dot over them because it's quicker and easier. So as you can see, this is an absolutely massive improvement on the previous texturing methods that Victoria Works used, at least in terms of reskinner friendliness. SG Media, what do you mean by the transparent thin over the top of the texture sheet? Because I've got several methods I use to reskin. The method I've used here basically converts the image to a flat image, so it means that when you try editing it, you haven't got any transparencies on it already. Which is, I think I'm the only reskinner that does it that way. I'm the only one I know of anyway. And most people sort of scream and shout about it because it means you lose any sort of original shading to it, but I find that it's often easier to add it back in manually, and it certainly makes it easier to see what you're doing for reskinning. That's a circular one, I'll fill that in later. So I'm actually thinking this might be a fairly quick and easy reskin compared to what I was expecting it to be. Now, the only disadvantage to doing what I'm doing here with the upscaling on the textures is that you have to find a suitable texture to use to replace the files. If you try importing it straight in to replace it in RS bin tool, it'll have a shout and a paddy at you. So there's some 8K textures in game I've previously made which I'm going to use, and I can't entirely remember the method for making them in game from scratch. It's been a while since I had to do it, but it's a not too difficult process, but it's quite tricky. You've got to get exactly the right thing in or it just won't work. that's that bit done. Right, have I missed anything? Doesn't look like it, so let's fill that all in black. I'll turn that down, turn that on, turn that off, turn that off. Bada bing, bada boom. Da-da! Now let's go through and do loads of rivets, might as well do it while I'm at it. So I want the paintbrush tool, I want that size to be fairly big, let's try 50. Let's try 75. That'll do. Rivet in action here, guys. Well, I've got to admit, I'm grateful that the rivets are mapped out so clearly on this, because this could be a lot more difficult than it is. And I'm just kind of hoping that I don't have to change the colours of any of these rivets, because that's when it can become a really tiresome job. And just that bit up. Ooh, I missed a bit. Just that ring up there to do, for which I will make a circle. Try bringing that in a bit. Okie dokie, I think that's all the black done. There we are. The reason that developers separate the rivets is normally because the rivets are modelled separately. So on your model, all these rivets, because they're 3D and stood out, they'll all require an individual texture setting for them. So the texture for this cab side, for example, will be entirely 2D. So because all the models are all the rivets are 3D modelled, it means that in order to texture that rivet, you have to have a separate bit on the texture sheet for it. I mean, theoretically speaking, you could texture it off the same part as the cab side, but I'm not 100% sure on that really. I think you'd have to ask Chris or something and have a proper look into it. I'm going to make that darker again though, because I have added a bit more brightness to I didn't want that one, I wanted that one. It might be a little bit too grey. Right, let's have a look. What lining do I want to add? something like that with inverted corners. So that's the tank side. The only question is which bit is which. That bit looks darker, that bit looks like it's got a little footstep in it. Those look like there could be handrail holds there. I reckon that bit on the top there that's the smoke box, that's the fire box, or maybe it's the other way round. Dark bit's got to be the underside of the tank, so I reckon I want this lining to go around about there. So let's have a look at what I can do about that. Yellow and black, and it's really fiddly to do this lining. Right. Footstep and the handrail. The handrail is definitely on the tank side. Ah, that'll be what it is, that other footstep there. Handrail. So that's that dark patch there. So do I want that lining to be between the dark patches? No, I want it to be under one and over the other. So I'm going to make a box. I can turn that width size right the way down. Probably about right. I wanted it to be under one, which it is. And I wanted it to be over the other, which it is. Oh, I think that change in shading there might just indicate the top. So I'll try that about there. That corner size, let's try bumping that up to 50. Maybe 75. How big is that curve? 75 might be a bit too big. I'll go for 50 instead. And because I'm a bit uncertain on the positioning and on the colour, I'm going to save it there and try it in game and see what it looks like. Hey Michael, welcome to the chat. So, Control Shift F, and I don't know if it's need to save transparency on that, crikey. So let's go have a look. Assets. If actually I had to de-encode it, so I probably do. Railworks, assets, BMG, because I know I've got one stored in there. Jubilee Pack, Rail Vehicles, Steam Bahamas, BR. Tender, textures, black 5 tender main. That's not the one I wanted. That one is. DDS, import. Reskins, BPP live, 5775. 5775. Helps if I actually save it first. Yeah, that's why. F4. Let's try setting it at 40 anyway. We'll see what happens. Either it'll like it and it'll work, or it won't like it and it won't work. Save as DDS save. Okie dokie. It's no worries, Michael. Feel free to join in the voice call if you want. I'm in the Blast Pipe production server somewhere. I think I'm in the live recording thing. You should have access to it. That's saved, so if I hop back on there, import that. Hey, it accepts it. File, save as. So now I need to go back and find where the actual file is. Victory Works, Pannier tanks, rail vehicles, steam, 50. No, it's not 57. It's railway children. GWR, textures, and this is probably something along the line of main diffuse. Right, okay. Properties. Badoop, 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 badoop. Badoop. Textures. Let's try saving it as that again. Yes, I do want to replace. So there we go, it's replaced it. Now for a moment of truth, I guess. Let's press play and see what crops up. Well, it's a similar colour now, which is good. Those tank fronts I still need to change, but I've got the feeling that I've just accidentally painted them black. It looks like the chimney might have been included in that file, because that looks a bit darker on the front now. But then again, perhaps not. The roof definitely has been. As has the back of the tank there. Let's see where our lining is. Thickness wise, that looks pretty good. How's it look positioning wise? Under the steps, over the top, but that's going just onto the curve a bit. So that needs to be lowered down. And I think it's pretty much in the right place on the bottom. But that lining might be a little bit thick. Yeah, it is a bit thick. So I make that a bit thinner. Yes, it is. What do I think of that colour? I think it's far too pale and pasty. That needs to be a more bright shade of orange. So I'm going to have to reduce that a bit. In fact, I'll duplicate it. And what I'll do, everything that's black on there, I shall delete from one of them. Edit, invert, and delete from there. That I can turn down a bit. Let's go for 40. And that I can turn down a bit. It's a bit brighter, but I think it still needs to be more orange. But without being so pale and pasty. So the only way I can get around that is by further lowering them. That one I can keep at 50. Let's try 25 and 25. It might be a bit dark now, but we'll try bumping that up again. Just try bumping that up a bit more. That's a bit too yellowy. That looks about right though. JMS, welcome to the stream. I am reskinning the Victory Works Pannier into Railway Children livery. To go with my previous attempt of the Dovetail Games one. And I'm hoping that this one will be a bit nicer quality. Well, I don't think there's actually a version of the Great Western one without the number on, which might be a bit of a pain, but oh well. It should be close enough. So, I said I wanted to move the top of that lining down a bit. That's the bottom, so... let's move that from layer 7 and that should be a bit better. God, it took me ages to do the skin the first time round. Let's set that to... I reckon that 25 width is probably about right for the entire size of the lining. So... I want it to be bigger than that and then that. The yellow does want to be smaller than the black. So if I've got 25, I can go for 10, 15 and 5 and see how that looks. So I'll set that at 10. How well positioned was it? Not too bad actually. Wants to be a bit further forwards. Because I need to miss out that pipe fin on the side, which isn't on there, interestingly enough. It's not on that one either. Oh no, it is on that one. Ah, top feed injectors. That's what that is. So I'll try and get it spaced equally over this Great Western fin. I think I probably want to move that side bit in a bit. So I reckon the sidelets on the bigger side is about right. So I shall go from the inside edge of this lining. And I've just realised I made a terrible mistake because I want to do this on the other layer. So let's undo that, undo that, undo that, add a new layer, and we'll do it on there. Set that width to 10. Corner size. Do I think those curves are about right? Inverted, or do we need to be bigger? Nah, I reckon they might be alright actually. We'll go for 60. Why not? So, line that up really inside there, and line it up really inside there. Line it up with the top there. And shift it along a bit, but don't worry too much about it because that side doesn't matter yet. Let's go Control ZZ, let's get some nice smooth corners on there. Especially seeing as I've had to up the size, I want them to be as nice as possible. But I don't know why I'm doing that. There's a much easier way of doing that. Oh, no, that is what we're doing. Easiest way of doing it is just selecting the curve properly in the first place. Like so. Then I just want to patch up those bits. There we go. That's one corner done in the yellow at least. Yeah, there you go, Michael. Easy peasy. So, what to do? Do I want to finish this bit, or do I want to go have a look at it in game? I'll have a go at doing the scale I want, and I'll see what that looks like. So, let's add a new layer for it. I want it to go for 5. And this is where I've made another mistake. So let's do that. I said I wanted to go for 15 for black. And I need to increase that corner size until that fits snugly onto that lining there. I'll go for 75 because I like nice numbers. Looks about right. And then I want to go for yellow again. And I want this size to be 5. And I've made another mistake, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to go on the inside, not the outside. Ay, it's been a long day today. Let's go back along there. I want to make that smaller, not bigger. I wanted that to be 15 and I wanted to decrease that corner size to about 45, I reckon. Yeah, that looks good. And I wanted this to be 5. Knock that down again. Let's go for 35. Right, so it's that corner I want to copy. Add a new layer for this one, I think. Control V. Line that up with that yellow that I conveniently prepared earlier. Trim that. Can hide that base layer. I wanted that to be 15 by 15. And I wanted that to stick out by 5, so I'll do a 5 by 5 square on the end there. Drop that down to there, and then I'll drop it across. How does that look? Probably done that the wrong way around there, actually. Evening, Stephen. Right, what I need to do there is I need to make that inside bit before I do the outside bit. Because it doesn't matter if you chop it off half curve, but it does matter if you do it the other way around. Let's have another go at that. I'll use the black so I can see what I'm doing. Right, let's make that corner size bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, at this point I might as well just do it as a circle. So I want 1 point to be on there. Just gotta hope this doesn't make the lining too big and out of place now. And I want to knock that in until that lines up with there. That's lined up, that's lined up. Yeah, that looks a bit about right. We'll flip that to yellow. What is going on here? Oh no, that looks about right. So I'm going to do a black on a new layer because I want it to be thicker. I think that inside black might be a bit... Yeah, no, it's quite thin. Let's see what we can do with this. Line that up to there. That's fine, let's try and make that 15 again. So I should need to move that down another one. So that should now, with any luck, be lined up with that edge. Which it is. So now just to make that smaller until that gap there pretty much disappears and those dots line up with there. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, that looks about right. And now for lever yellow, which again I want to add back onto that bottom layer there. Now, the question is, what size do I want that to be? Because 10 looked too big, but it needs to be distinctly bigger than 5. I'll have a go with 10 and stick it on the Loco and see what it looks like. Take it in one more just to close up that gap. Okie dokie, I think we're in business there. So, let's select that down to there, select that up there. Get rid of all those layers that I aren't using anymore. And we'll start a new one and we'll go from there. Damn, I lost count. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that looks about right. Yep, I'll roll with it from there. I said I wanted that to be 15 by 15, which it more or less is. So I want that yellow to be on the top layer in a 5 by 5. How much room have we got there? 15, excellent. So, copy and paste that. Watch it, this is where the lining will look way too thick now. I didn't want to do it that way around, did I? I wanted to do it that way around. There we are. Drag that bit up there. To about there. That is a mistake I made over on that side. I'll get rid of that bit. And I want to keep those bits at the side, but I want to delete that curve. So I'll duplicate that layer before I edit it, in case I want to go back to that version. I'll just do a big old delete. And then I'll just drag that over there. And drop down here and drag that up there. Like so. And we've got a corner made. Easy as that. That only took like, what, half an hour? So, that's one corner down. Let's go make all the other corners. I'll extend those arms a little bit first. Of course, I need to drop that layer down. Same with this, we'll drop that layer down. Nyong. Probably around about there-ish. Round about there-ish. That looks roughly equidistant. And now let's click on that. We want it globally picked. We want that done. Edit invert selection. A new layer underneath that one. And we'll fill that in black, but only in the middle bit there. And let's have a look and see what that looks like on the loco in game. Just save that first. Yeah, the hardest bit about this, Michael, when you're starting it out, is getting the first corner done right for the lining. Once you get the first corner done, you can do what I've done there and just copy and paste it. The other issue is when you're adding lining to a loco that's not lined already, you've got to try and work out the position of where it fits on the texture sheet and how that fits on the loco. I want that to be about 40. Okie dokie, file save as. DDS, save. SG Media, what issue have you got with the importing? Why didn't that change? That's better. engine main diffuse. Yes. Okie dokie, so this should look a fair bit different when it pops into the next mode. Ready for the big reveal, guys? Ready? So that ochre looks like a better shade now. Still might need a bit of tweaking though. And there's that beautiful lining on the side there, which actually, I think the size of that may be just about spot on. I don't think it looks too big or too small. I do need to add a thin black outline to that. Yeah, so what exactly is the error message you're getting, or the problem you have in SG Media? Because there can be several causes for it, it depends on the exact problem. That. Let's try taking that up a bit. One above there, one above there. Yeah, I reckon that looks about right. Can I get away with one less? It's not quite strong enough there. So that's the outside. Let's try the inside of that. Try shifting that inwards again. This time I want to try dragging that outwards. It's to be a little bit bigger still. Yeah, that looks about right to my eyes. Okie dokie, so we're getting somewhere now. It's not going to matter if I cross over that. Or if I cross over that. Because I'm just going to copy and paste this corner. And I'm going to paste that over the top of all of them. There we go. So that's our lining for one tank done. Which, how long's that taken? It's taken a fair while, is that? So, I want to put it in exactly the same place on the other tank. So what's going to be the easiest way of doing this? That's my layer 16. I wanted to merge layer 16 with something else. 16's that one, 19's that one, I think. Yep, so I wanted to drop 16 down onto 19. And I need a common anchoring point for this, so I'm going to go off the very This is the only issue with upsizing the textures. It makes the edges rather blurry and rather difficult to see. I'll try going off that bottom corner the best I can. Nyom. Probably round about there. That one's to go there. Okie dokie, so I think that's about time to check it in game again and see what it looks like. Just quickly before I do, am I happy with that shade? It still looks a bit too pale. Let's go for a bit darker. And we'll drop them down a bit more. So, just saved that there. Go stick it back in and we'll see what it looks like in game. And let's save that again. And okie dokie. And now we want to go back onto here. Import, open, okie dokie, file, save as. Engine main, yes. Play. There we are. So, original DTG model. Also shows how much I've come with my texturing abilities, because if you have a look at the line in there, you can see how it's all blocky and pixely. But if we scroll over and have a look here, silky smooth. Or blocky and pixely, but over a greater area. But if you have a look at it just from a normal viewing distance, you can't really tell at all there. Whereas if you have a look at that one, you can still see the blocks on it. I reckon that spacing's about right on the line in there, and I reckon the positioning on that line in is about right too. It looks to be fairly well placed there. So, still not entirely convinced about the shade, but I think it's a bit better there. Right, do I want to do more lining, or do I want to do something a bit more exciting? I have to remake that child object at some point, but I might have a go at sticking it on the side of the tank first. Yeah, go on then. We'll do some child objects now. We've done some reskinning for a bit. It can get a little bit tedious. It's good to take breaks with it. So, Back into the files, I will want a bin. But I'll tell you what, before I do this, I'll just get rid of that decal from the side before I try putting my own on. Decal tank rivet? Probably not, but no. Not that one. Power class logo Great Western is what I want. Export DDS 5775 logo. Okie dokie, 5775 logo. Because I'm wanting to get rid of this, it's quite simple really. Select, delete, save. Make sure that format matches up, DXT5. Bob's your uncle. File, save as. What was it called? Logo Great Western, I think. Yep. Okay. Okay, and assets, DTG, and forum. Forum, rail vehicles, steam, Pannier tank, railway children, engine, GNSRLY, copy, paste, and let's hope the positioning is somewhat similar, because if it is, that'll save me a huge amount of effort. Will I do 5775 in BR green? I might do, yeah. It's certainly possible. I think I'll probably do the Worth Valley variant before I do green, but don't see why not. And yeah, my background is none there you are. Fun fact about that picture I've got as my background, that was that photo is what I took on the last turn I did on Nunla before she went out a ticket. That was the last set of brake van rides she did. So what do I want to copy and paste? I want to copy and paste this bit. From element to element, Control C, hop back over to here, flick down on the bottom. I don't want to stick it on the fuel bit, but I can stick it on the sounds bit. And I just need to change that file path to wherever I am at the moment, which is Stephen, no, it wasn't the nightcap. It was the Easter bank holiday weekend, I believe. Which I think was the week before the nightcap, or 2 weeks before the nightcap. And it is Victory Works, and it is GWR Pannier tanks. Right, here's hoping that Victory Works and dovetail games both set the same point on the model as the 0 point. If they've used the same datum, then they should appear in somewhere near the correct location. But there's only one way to find out. Quick replay, cross your fingers. Yeah, I've seen some of the photos and videos from Slough at Middleton. It was a nice room with that. I love it when a plan comes together. Although the Victory Works one's a bit skinnier. How about that? So what I'm going to do now is try and work out why I've got Great Western there. When well, I know why that is. It's because the logo thing's pointing to the wrong place. But yeah, I'll move that logo in a bit because it is sticking out there. Probably 0.1 on the Y. So I've got X, Y, Z. It's going to be on the X, so let's see what happens if I change that to 2.5 instead of 4.5. Save. And whilst I'm at it, logos GWR, yes, okay. That should hopefully get rid of that Great Western logo as well. So let's quit, let's replay that. Yeah, it's a nice thing about industrial, Stephen. It's you can work an industrial engine hard on a heritage line, whereas some of your bigger locos, like your mainline ones, you struggle with. You know, you can't really open them up and give them a good thrashing. Well, there we are, guys. We're starting to take shape a bit now. It's got that classic logo on. Well, a fun fact about this, I actually did all of this shading on it, all the blue. I did that individually, pixel by pixel. That wasn't done using any sort of, you know, like gradient tool or anything. That was done individually as every little dot. I was immensely proud of doing that. So, yeah, if I have a look at the side there, that should have moved in a significant chunk, which it looks like it has. It's still floating in midair a little bit, but nowhere near as much. So let's have a go at that again. Let's try 2.15 to 1.5. File save. Quit, yes. Replay. I'm seeing double here, guys. Yeah, it's starting to look the part now. So, can I be bothered with doing that on the bunker? Not really. I might have a look at doing the wheels instead. Perhaps. Oh, it needs doing. I need to get it out where. This is the problem with reskinning. You do get to a certain point where you just want to procrastinate because you've got something shitty left to do, like you don't really fancy doing. Right, so and while I'm trying to work out what all these bits do, I'm going to try an old reskinner's technique here. I've made a new layer and I'm going to put some very bright, very obvious markings on some of these parts so I know what they are. Orange is probably not the best idea with what I'm doing actually, but oh well. That's probably going to be the roof. Let's go for a green on something. See what that is. Stick a pale blue on there. Stick a dark blue on there. Stick a purple on there. And we'll stick a pink on there. Stick those back on again. DDS, import DDS data, open, okay, file, save as, engine main diffuse, yes, and we'll quit out of that and replay. SG Media, if it's saying it's the wrong size, then the cause of that will be the file you're trying to edit. If you have a look down here in the bottom corner, I've got a dimension. So this one's saying it's 8192 by 8192. If I try saving this on a different file, say this one, say this one for example, this one's a different format, so it'll probably shout at me about that. Yeah, this file does not appear to be the right height. So there's two things you need to check when you're exporting files. One is that you need to make sure that you save it in the format it tells you in the bottom corner here. So that says format 32 BPP ARGB. So when I'm saving that, I need to go File, Save As, DDS, Save, yes. I need to select on the settings bit here, 32-bit, whatever it will be, ARGB, blah de blah. What are it? 32 ARGB. So I want to have a look for here, for one of these which has ARGB on it. So yeah, so I think it's this top one here I'd want. That's got A8, it's got R8, it's got B8 and it's got G8. So that's the one I'd want. I'd want to select that and save it as that. So that's one thing to check. That makes sure that you've got it in the same format, and then you need to make sure it's the same file size. So if I open the original one of these textures, 5700, Great Western textures, engine main diffuse, files, DDS export DDS, 57 main diffuse, let's call it OG. So click on that, So if I have a look at this, you can see at the bottom corner here, this one is saying that it's 1024 by 1024, whereas this one that I've been working on, I've upscaled to 8192 by 8192. So if I try saving the new one as this one here, it says that it's not the right height, even though the compression and format's the same. So basically what you've got to do there is you've just got to make sure that when you try and save it, that file size is identical to the size of the file that you're trying to save it as. Otherwise it just doesn't work. So what was I doing? I was going to go into Train Sim and check it. So yeah, that's pretty close to the tank there now. There's still a little gap, but I can't really go much further than that without fiddling around a lot. And so let's see if we can find all my brightly coloured bits and pieces. I can't see a single one of them. Well, that was anticlimactic. I wonder if it's the wheel arches. Well, it doesn't appear to be. I did actually save that file, didn't I? Let's have a look. Oh, apparently I didn't. Well, that'd explain it. Main diffuse. I don't need to quit out, I can just go into the world editor and then the scenario editor. There's my engine. Ah, there we go. We've now got some nice neon fluorescent bits on there. So that back of the cab I'm alright to keep black because that's what colour it is. Although the covers on them windows I need to try and reskin, but I don't think they're on the file that I'm changing at the moment. Well, that being said, there could be actually. In any case, that's a little fiddly detail for near the end of the reskin, I think. What else is brightly coloured and neon on it? Not the wheel splashes still, which still look brown all over. I'll need to change that as well, because they're actually lined out in a darker brown. Disappointingly not the tank front, so I'm going to have to find them in another file. I'm going to have to line out that box on the cab side. I want to get rid of that Great Western Power symbol as well. But we're making progress. And I think you can also quite well see the difference that it makes with, you know, the new texturing system compared to the old one. So, what do I want to do? I really should finish this texture file and get it out of the way, but do you know what? Let's move on to a new texture file. Other diffuse, I think, is the one that I wanted. Image. Resize. By percentage. 800. Okie dokie. That's now 8K2. Just save that without the bright fluorescent bits on. And since I'm going to be ditching this bit for a bit, I'm just going to save that as a PDN just so I can come back and pick it up where I left off next time. So that I can get rid of. I've nabbed everything I need from that, so I can get rid of that too. That layer I want to copy the entire thing. Add a new layer, plonk that on there. Start it off at about 50 again. Add a new layer. Find that same colour. Right, so we've got a smoke box, we've got some steps, we've got some black looking bits, more steps, aha! Bingo! We have got the front of the tanks, just there, and just there, and I think those other curvy bits might be two, but why is there only one of them? There's the other one up there. I'm going to have to change all the handrail colours to dark brown instead of black as well. That side bit there wants to be brown too, as does the step. SG Media, for the bitmap issue, when you click on save, do it for this one. When you click on save, it helps if you go on save as the right file type. Oh god, it's all going to pot. File save as DDS. Save, yes. I should have some more options there actually, but there we go. You've got to make sure you have generate bitmaps ticked when you save it, and that should solve that issue for you. So those bits I wanted to be brown. Those bits I wanted to be brown too. Hey, look, something in a fiddly position for the first time on these texture sheets. Well, I've got to admit, I was a bit sceptical earlier when the guys in the Discord server for Blastpipe Productions told me that the Pannier was easy to reskin, but I am pleasantly surprised. It's certainly a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. That's them. That number plate, what do I want that to be done like? Don't know because it doesn't have its number plate. I'll see if I can find the smoke box door in dark. We'll do that in a nice metal colour. And the wheels too. That appears to be most of the motion for the outside frames at least. That's all inside frames there. Still got the smoke box door there. So it's a smoke box door, hinge and handle I want. And this is going to be a really difficult, awkward bit. SG Media, that IO file basically means that you've got it open somewhere else. So if you exit, if you quit out of RS bin tool and you try reloading RS bin tool and reopening the file and re-importing it, it should then work. Right, loads of home guides. It's not up the side there. Ooh. Oh. Ooh, I was getting excited for a second there, but maybe it's not actually that. Well, it could be the handle. Also, how much of the handle wants doing? Is it? Yeah, it's that whole background as well. Ooh, so this is where it starts to get a bit fiddly when you look for details like this. So I'm trying to do the burnished smoke box door here, the handles and the hinges. But if you have a look at the model in game, all that's just in plain black. So that means that what I've got to try and do is have a look through all of the various shapes on the texture sheet here, of which there are many. And I've got to try and work out exactly which ones are for that. So I reckon these ones here with a little circular bit on the end are going to be for the top and the bottom of the hinges, which might actually want to be left black. Let's see if that image is any better. Well, it does look like it's got a bit of a shine on it. Yeah, screw it, we'll polish it anyway. You can never have your loco polished too much. So I reckon that circular bit, that might be a rivet, so I'll ignore that for now. I'll try selecting that bit as well. That hole there with a circle in it, I'm going to hope that's some bit in the middle. If not, it might be like a grey bit there, but that looks a bit wonky for that. Evening, Edward. Hey look, there's a smiley face here. That'll be a similar sort of size. Don't look to be anything like it down there, however. That could be it, but I'm not entirely convinced. Right, so it's back to our traditional method of reskinning. Paint everything neon colours until you find what you're looking for. This is making me want to go back to lining now. I'm sure that bit's going to be a part of it with that slant on it, but I just need to double check. If there's one like that, there should be another one that's almost identical to that somewhere. That one with a slight curve on it could be something important. This is the bit about reskinning that I absolutely hate. That bit will be the outline for the number plate. I know it's definitely not that. That bit looks too big for it. That'll be too fat. Let's see what that looks like. I'll tell you what, I'm at like 20 as well. file, save as. Over diffuse, yes. No, actually, I don't want to save it as a PNG, I want to save it as a DDS. Okie dokie, and let's go into there. I need to import it into this one because it's the right size. Once it's finished saving it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, your IO error. If I try this now, I think it'll come up with the error, but let's just have a look. Save, yes. Okay. Yeah, maybe not. Save as of ooh. It might have been outer diffuse and not over diffuse. Maybe I'm just a bit blind. No, that's carb, that'd be why. It is engine over. Right, let's see what that's done. Cross your fingers and pray. Ah, that green was the buffers. That's helpful to know. And I was correct about the hinges, which is good. I was correct about that yellow one, which is also good. But I wasn't correct about the smokebox dart. Oh god, that's gonna be a real pain to sort. So this is something that really annoys me when devs do this, and I can understand why, but what they've done, instead of texturing the shape as a whole, they've split up the textures for it, so every face of the shape has its own texture on the texture sheet. So everything you look at on that texture sheet is a 2D image of one of the faces of the part. So that means you end up with stuff like this, where you've got this silly little pink line there, which just appears on the texture file as a tiny little strip. Is it magenta or purple? I think that's the magenta one. But that's what it looks like on the Loco. And then if we hop over to here, on the texture file it literally just appears as that little line there. So it means you've got to then faff around for ages trying to find out where each bit is on the part. But I was correct about the yellow, so I can copy the yellow a bit. Why won't it's probably run out of memory. Alright, so I'll save that as it is. I have to quit it and reload it. Michael, there's no need for sarcasm. So let's get rid of that. Let's go on here and PDN. So it was that yellow bit. Oh, it should have changed the motion as well. I never even looked at that. And there's that red bit I picked up on. Part of the motion. So somewhere there should be an identical part to that one I've got highlighted. Which is not along that top edge. It's not down that side there. It is not up there. Aha! That looks like it will be it. Right, that's that bit done. Smokebox door handle now. I don't want to do this bit. Right, what looks like a door handle? Not much. No, it's not either of them. Probably something reasonably large. A bit of drawing a ring round there with the buffers. Wasn't any of the bright and obvious colours I've put down. Right, let's try some new parts. Oh dear, Paint.net's throwing a wobbly again. I'm gonna have to close that. I can close out of all them now because I'm not using them anymore. That might help it a bit. Let's try a pink dot there. Yeah, SG Media, that IO problem, if you you've got to exit out of RS bin tool. You've got to completely quit RS bin tool, and then you've got to go back into RS bin tool again from scratch, open up the file that you need to change, and then import it again. That IO file is basically the IO issue happens when you have the file open in RS bin tool, and it means that it can't save it, it can't overwrite it. So you've got to make sure that you close RS bin tool before you save it. Purple, what can we paint purple? Absolutely nothing on here looks even remotely like a handle. It's probably going to have a tapered shape to it. That might be a giveaway. Is there any line in there that looks tapered? It's got holes in it, so it's probably not that. That looks a little bit too fat and stubby. Aha! That looks like a handle. I'm gonna go straight for that because I'm that confident in it. So if that's one of the handles, that means I only need to find the other one. Which should be a similar looking taper like that there. Oh, let's hope my detective skills pay off here. So we'll copy that and we will paste that into layer 4. It's doing silly stuff again. There we are. Copy and paste. Right, let's go back up to that top left corner and see how many dots I can put a dot on. That's one of them done. It's not that bit. That's too metally coloured. Let's try that bit. It's going to be a reasonably sized one. Try that one. That's too metally looking. That one's got a hole in, so it might be that one. Well, there's a lot of them that I've chosen, so I don't think it is going to be them, so... Yeah, that looks about right. I have a feeling it may be that. Let's go for a yellow for that one. Okay, let's have another go and see what this looks like. Save as DDS. Okie dokie, yes. Okay. DDS tool, import DDS data. Wait for that to finish saving. Hey Reese, welcome to the stream. It's going quite well. It's slow and steady, but we're getting there. We've made a fair bit of progress. Save as. It's not the cab, it's engine over diffuse. Yes. Right, let's see if I'm any good at guessing where bits are on the texture file. Oh yeah, buttered the bread. Have a look at that. I thought it'd be that yellow bit, and it is that yellow bit. Oh, that's lovely, is that? That'll do me. That blue bit's going to be a pain. I'm going to have to remember where all them are, and I'm going to have to individually find all them knobbly bits. Yeah, happy with that. So that yellow bit I will paste over with a metal colour. And then I'm going to have to find out where those round bits are for that, and being cylindrical there could be literally any of the strips on that texture file. They're not going to have any sort of tapering shape to them or anything. I should replace that yellow bit with red, and then it can be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Engine. It's not jammy, Michael, it's skill. It's years of searching through texture files that make almost no sense in complete agony. But you can see how it took like an hour or so to do all the lining, but that was pretty much done. Yeah, there's the tank sides and that to do, but you can see how much longer it takes to get all the little fiddly details right, rather than just going, oh yeah, I've done the sides of the tanks, that's it, it's done. And it's putting in this attention to all the little details here what really makes a reskin. Copy that and pop that one in there. So that's that bit done. So yeah, that circular bit could be literally any one of these black lines, and I reckon it's probably going to be a short stubby one like this one here, but even then there's quite a lot of them it could be. And I'm not entirely sure whether I can be bothered going through all of them at the moment. So I think I'll hide that layer. I'll save it as is. Now I've saved it as that. I'll save it as a PDN so I can pick it up again at some other time. let's go on DDS, import, open, okay, file, save as, engine, other diffuse, yes. Let's hit that play button again. Well, it's not quite perfect yet, but we're getting there with it. Slow and steady. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to call it a night at that. We'll be nearly at 3 hours or so now. Yeah, Michael, the reason they aren't all in the same area is basically when Victory Works have unwrapped the engine, they've put it all on the texture files to try and squeeze everything into as few texture files as possible. And the reason they've done that is that by putting it in as few texture files as possible, it saves a lot of space, and it means the engine loads in a lot quicker and it's more stable. The more texture files you have to load and the bigger those texture files are, the more likely Trainsim is to crash on you. Which is why me upscaling these to 8K textures is a bit of a dodgy practice, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to get that quality in on the lining. So, you know, or I wouldn't be able to get that quality in on the metal texture there. So for me, it's worth taking that risk and making the bigger file to get that quality into it. But yeah, so there we go. It's been less than 3 hours working on that so far, but it's going to be a good one when it's done. But this is going to be one of those reskins that's going to take a lot of time faffing around with the little details to get right. But yeah, I'm going to call it a night at that, guys. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it again. If you have any feedback from me, feel free to leave it in the comments or on the Facebook page or anything like that. And keep an eye out on the Facebook page for announcements for when I'll be streaming next time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.